The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Hooray for Hollywood, where stars are living large, in mansions with their servants and their credit cards in charge, with fame that's fleeting, but the egos never change, where everyone's a genius, except the ones who really arrange. Hooray for Hollywood, where the scandals always sell, where every whispered secret is a new tabloid's tell. Oh, how we adore the endless red carpet galore. Hooray for Hollywood, where less is always more.
Hello, hello, hello. Good evening and welcome to Damn You Hollywood. I'm your host, Alexis Hejna, and I will turn things over to... Yeah, you know, there's no other way to start the show other than this. Candlelight and Soul Forever, a dream of you and me together. Say you believe it, say you believe it. Free your mind of doubt and danger. Be for real, don't be a stranger. We can achieve it, we can achieve it. I am not singing it because I don't want to scare off what few viewers we have. Mr. Robert Winfree, yay!
Look, one of us is going to have to sing, and there's a city ordinance against me, so...
Well, if I started singing, you were...
Sing.
What'd you say, Jayson?
I said I don't sing.
Last time I sang, the dog started howling. So, you know, I mean, sorry, not our fault that Mark's not here to torture us.
So Jayson, who's joining us as well. Jayson, imagine me and you and me even.
To become one. I don't think I want to ever imagine that, because that is a horrific visual that I'd never want to imprint in my mind again.
I'm like 90% sure there is a AI or something where you could take two pictures like, what would our children look like, and mesh them together. And I know for all three of us, it's going to be a horror show no matter what the combination.
Yeah.
That does seem pretty...
Yeah, no,
like
Zach,
a thing
we're not singing.
we should not do.
Yeah, I think that's one of the circles of hell that may be opened.
It's one of them, almost certainly. Well, if the context clues weren't enough for you, everybody, tonight here the Unholy Trinity has aligned ourselves, and we will be discussing together.
I'm never going to get those squelching sounds out of my head. Props to whoever was in charge of the sound effects and sound editing in this movie. You did a phenomenal job of creeping me out.
All right, so for the benefit of those at home, memento.
Well, I did tell you guys, I was the first one to see it out of the three, and I told you guys to be prepared, because this movie is definitely something. What, we don't know, but it was definitely something.
So Together is a 2025 supernatural body horror film, written and directed by Michael Shanks in his directorial debut.
Yay.
Film stars real-life married actors Dave Franco and Allison Brie.
Congratulations to Dave Franco for being able to continue a career that is not overshadowed by his brother's creepiness.
It's unfortunate because I liked making fun of James Franco.
We all did.
Now I just have to beat up on Miles Teller more for his dead, stupid eyes and his lizard brain. Anyway, Michael Shanks, for those of you unfamiliar with some of his work, this is his directorial debut. He's done a few other things. Mostly short stuff. He probably most well known for the Wizard of Oz, AUS. He's got a brief bit in The Slot.
Apparently more known for his YouTube channel than anything else. But, hey, credit to, starting off with a bang and getting your name out there and getting to do this kind of stuff. We always applaud seeing up and coming writers and directors, make the jump, and we're happy for them.
So, since the three of us are here, I do have to ask, why this one? I forget which of us recommended it.
Alexa.
Yeah, so what
Yeah.
what drew you to this one when the trailer dropped?
Well, I thought it did look relatively interesting, and the early reviews were praising it. This is very similar to when Late Night with the Devil came out, and the early reviews were just singing the song of how good the movie was. When I see stuff like that, I am automatically intrigued if word of mouth has gotten that big that quick. So I was interested, and I mean, we had a blast doing the monkey earlier this year, plug. And we were talking about how it's like we wanted to get the band back together. It's always fun when the three of us get together to talk horror movies, and I don't think we've talked body horror on this show as of yet.
Not specifically. It did come up, and Mark and I talked about it relatively extensively when we discussed The Substance last year.
I just showed my best friend that over the weekend. She had never seen it, and she wanted to see it.
I still have yet to see it. It's on my list, but I haven't seen it yet.
You'll enjoy it. It's good.
Okay.
And
which do you think is more cringeworthy as far as body horror, Together or The Substance?
Ooh. They work on such different levels.
Yeah.
There's nothing in Together quite like the monster at the end of The Substance.
Well, there's the monster in the cave.
Even that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where practical effects goes wrong, but we'll talk about that later.
So yeah, there was that. So Jayson, you agreed to tag along because you're happy to jump face forward into whatever pool of quicksand we offer.
Yeah.
This kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Regretting your decision?
This is one of those times that I give Mark a lot of hell for a certain animated film that he made me review. Now, Alexa, you have one strike. But in your defense, Weapons looks like something you recommended that looks really good, and we're hoping that that pulls this nosedive up. Now, going into this, I was very intrigued. The trailer did a good job. The trailer sold this movie way much, a whole lot better, and more than you typically see a trailer. The trailer cut of this was really good. That's why I seem interested, because we haven't talked body horror. I'm not particularly a body horror person. I tend to, it's hit or miss with me. Like The Fly is up there. That is great. But then you have
the gold standard.
Right. I mean, but then you have stuff like,
to the extent that you want to call the thing body.
Well, I'm trying to think of that. Barbarian. Barbarian was kind of body horror with the thing in the basement, the mother. Then you had stuff like, then people I consider gore porn, but you got body horror. But some people call it body horror, is in the Hostel movies.
I can't watch the Hostel movies. It's not so much the body horror. It's I don't like watching people being tortured. That's just really fucks with me.
I'm fine with that. It's just that one scene the eyeball scene in one, I can't handle. It's just one of those things. But then you have the mutilation and stuff, which I'm fine with. But this movie, it sold me. The trailer sold me. That's why I agreed to do it. Plus, I always like reviewing movies with you two, especially when it comes to the horror genre. And like we said earlier, we haven't explored body horror, the three of us together. ever. So diving into this was a new experience and something that I looked forward to.
All right. Tell you what, real quick before I jump into the plot, just go around the table real fast. We already mentioned The Fly, so and David Cronenberg is probably like the master of body horror in a lot of respects.
Yeah.
But
apparently his son is really making waves with it recently.
I saw
his son do the Infinity Pool?
Yeah, that's the one that he did.
Mm-hmm.
That was it doesn't feel like David Cronenberg, but it does feel very like a Cronenberg movie in a lot of ways. So when it's like, oh, it's his kid that directed, like everything about that makes all kinds of sense. But just
and the pieces all fit. Yeah,
just real quickly go around the table real fast. Like some favorite body horror movies, because for the sake of argument, let's delineate between gore. I'm for the sake of conversation, let's delineate between gore and body horror. I tend to view body horror as not so much just pure violence or mutilation, but the deliberate, uncanny distortion and violation of the human form.
That's a good way to put it. Well, for me, I'm actually kind of new to body horror because for the longest time, that was the threshold I wouldn't cross.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of excess blood and guts and stuff always made me very squeamish. It took forever for me to just watch the first 3 Saw films. I didn't think I could get into it.
The first 2 of those are fine. 3, the last act gets a bit over the top, but
yeah, and admittedly, the later Saw movies I didn't like, not because I didn't like the body horror, but just because
they're bad.
Well,
they're just not good movies.
Then I felt it got overkill with some of the torture scenes. You know, like the woman in the bronze bull, and now they keep her. It's like, guys, less
I got a whole
is
thing
more.
about that, but listen to The Long Road to Ruin that Sean and I did for the Saw franchise if you're so inclined, for my deep praise of the first 2.5 and then my utter contempt for the ones beyond that.
I will say, we mentioned The Substance. I'm a huge fan of that. I still say Demi Moore should have won the Oscar.
She should have.
You know,
it was politics that kept her out of that. She should have won that.
Yeah, all 3 of us missed that on the Oscars poll we did.
It's because we look, the week after we did that, I looked at all the political wind shifting that was going on around those movies, and the joke became, it would be a very Conclave thing for Conclave to win Best Picture because everything else suddenly has a problem. The Brutalist has a use of AI in it briefly, and this has another thing, and this has another thing. And so when it actually came time for all the awards to come in, Mark and I kind of looked at each other and went, yeah, the Conclave effect. Everything else just found some extraneous problem with it, so no one voted for it. Never mind that some of those others were a lot better than Anora, but that's a whole other thing.
I will say it's not a body horror movie, but it does have some really good body horror in it. Color Out of Space.
That's a good one. That definitely has some of them in there.
Yeah, that sequence. I still remember the night I went to go see that with a friend of mine. I hadn't even heard of it. But he was like, "There's this indie film that's going to be like one night only in a theater. I want to go see." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm game." I did not know that was going to happen. And yeah, when they bring in the mom and the son on the blanket, first time in I don't know how long, I instinctively turned away from the screen. Just, that moment. It's just like that. We've all had moments like this where something actually hits us and it scares us. And it's just like, nope. So, yeah. What about you, Jayson?
I mean, like we said, the gold standard is The Fly. I'm going to say this, and you guys are going to laugh because this goes back to me and Mark being movie people. Basket Case. For some reason, Basket Case holds a special place in my horror genre.
Technically, by Robert's definition, that is body horror.
It absolutely is. I appreciate the callback to that. Well, that's a deep cut.
Yeah, I mean, they're silly, but some of the practical effects, and the way they was done, and then you got like stuff that like trickle down. Like, I mean, do I consider Saw body horror? Yeah, it some of it walks that line, even though the best kill is, because I consider body horror is the best kill in Saw is the twisting of appendages and the manipulation of them in Saw 3. I think that is one of the most really it's one of those queasy things because it's done really well. But then you have, like I said, I mean, there's where I lay a lot about body horror goes back to like the 80s B movies, because I mean it was huge then. This kind of brought me back around into body horror because when when we seen it, and this movie is basically pitched as it is pitched the way that the movie does not come off as. It's pitched as kind of like an obsessive couple, and the guy's obsessed with the girl, and she's trying to get away, and but then it just totally throws you out in the left field, and you're like, "What the hell am I watching?" About 20 minutes in, you're like, it's like somebody took an idea from Blair Witch, The Fly, and some occultist film, and just said, "Okay, here's how we're going to do this movie," and Lobster. And then at the halfway point, it takes a sharp left turn, and you start questioning not only your own life, but why are you existing in this theater? And sadly, I was the only one in the theater. Which made it really more of a unsettling feeling.
That's the best way to watch movies. I'm convinced
no.
of this. The best theatrical experience is you by yourself.
Yeah, but with a movie like this, it gives you it's really unnerving, and it adds it to a whole new level.
It would have been more unnerving if there was someone in the row immediately behind you and one chair over.
Oh, or actually, since you do pick your own chairs, if they came and sat right down beside me, out of the entire theater, that would have been better. I would have just looked at it and went, "Huh, first time, huh?"
Oh, now you're Dave Franco with the noose around your neck.
Yeah, first time, huh? But yeah, I mean, so Robert, what's some of your favorite body horror?
I got a few. I mean, Videodrome's a classic if we're just talking body horror, because we're still dealing with Cronenberg.
Yeah.
On the more animated side of things, I have such a love-hate relationship with this movie for a variety of reasons. But Akira has a really gnarly body horror series sequence.
Why didn't I even think about Akira? I freaking own that on Blu-ray.
Again, there's a lot about that movie about that animated movie that I love. There's a lot that I struggle with because they made it before there was anything approximating a closing point to the source material, so they kind of just flubbed the ending. Still on the animated front, there's some pretty gnarly stuff in Made in Abyss, which I am very hesitant to ever recommend people watch. There's a lot of reasons for that. Ask me about them later if you're so inclined.
We don't need to end up on any list, Robert.
That one won't put you on a list. There's nothing illegal. But it will, like, the first season will just destroy you emotionally, especially right at the end.
I'm dead inside anyway.
Then after that, that's where you get, it's the second and third movie is where you get into the really gnarly, like, body horror. In the same vein, there's a real solid body horror element to District 9 with Shirley Copley turned
Yeah,
him into
I did.
one
I
of the
did not.
heroes.
I did not. I wouldn't even. I didn't even think of that as body horror, but that makes a lot of sense. And it's really interesting you went toward the animated side because I don't really think of any horror genre or especially body horror being in an animated form. So that's really interesting.
If you want to go like
I don't.
illustrated, but not, if you want to go illustrated but not animated,
The
I'll
boys.
no, I'll cop out and just say anything by Junji Ito. Pretty much will
Okay.
have a lot of twisted stuff.
Didn't they do an animated version of?
God bless them, they tried.
I didn't watch it. I didn't get.
Okay,
I wasn't home the night it aired.
okay. Well, I'll be quick about this then. They got the rights to Uzumaki, which is one of his and that's the one that has a lot of body horror. I mean, a lot of his stuff does, but Uzumaki's really good. The problem they ran into was their budget was not what they were promised, and after getting done with like an episode and a half, they were told, "Okay, you have to finish this real cheap." And then we're just gonna release. They weren't done with it, and they were just told, like, "Okay, we're gonna release it." So the first episode or so is actually pretty good. Everything after that is literally unfinished, and I feel so bad for the studio because they got screwed on that.
Ouch.
But
We're gonna
yeah,
get one day. We're gonna get a recobbled cut version of that, aren't we?
I sincerely hope so. All right, so that's kind of a little bit of our backstory with body horror. So as for Together itself, the movie establishes its tone very early with a search for a missing couple and a couple of very poor dogs.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, who here watched that scene and said, "Oh, okay, we're apparently watching The Thing."
Yeah, and there's
Yeah.
definitely some. That is definitely a reference.
There's another good body horror which I
Oh,
forgot
yeah.
I also own. I don't know why I didn't think about that.
Because we tend to think about that one more for the paranoia than the body horror.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mostly just think about that one, and I go, and I remember the one time I tried to watch that while I was on my lunch break, and I was just like, "What the hell was I
Well,
thinking?"
I mean, in the same vein, you have the scene from Alien,
Oh, yeah.
the chest bursting scene with Alien and the face huggers. I mean, some of that is considered would
Geiger's work has a lot of anatomical
be, yeah.
Penetration.
maltreatment.
Yeah.
I
And
never
then-
want to hear you say penetration again.
But no, seriously, if you don't consider a chest burster body horror, then I don't think you
Oh
can.
yeah,
Yeah, and especially when you consider the original fate of Tom Skerritt in that movie, which would have been very body horror.
Mm-hmm.
Those of you who don't know, the original idea was for something about for the life cycle of the alien to be a little bit more self-contained. So an egg gives off a face hugger, which gives birth to a xenomorph, which then does something to the people it kidnaps, and that turns that like forces their bodies to change into the eggs that spawn face huggers. So it would have been a lot more self-contained. So there's actually a cut scene from Alien where Tom Skerritt's character is slowly being like turned via practical effects into an egg, into an alien egg.
oh
I think I'd wanna
that's
see that.
You
interesting.
can find stills of it online if you don't mind the nightmares.
Let's
So-
just be thankful that instead he just dies with the alien going, "Give me a hug."
Yeah, best jump scare in that movie too. Anyway,
Mhm.
so these two, as people are looking for this missing couple of dogs go down into a cavern. They drink from a pool of water that's it's in a hole that does not look natural.
It actually looks Geiger-esque.
Yeah. And they then start developing a weird sort of looking at each other, and they go back to their normal house, and scary things happen where they start physically merging, and the poor owner has to go see them half merged, and we get like half a second of looking at them before we cut to the main two characters we follow. We follow Tim and Millie, played by the aforementioned Dave Franco and Allison Brie. They're in the city. Which city is nebulous? The big city. And she has accepted a new teaching position. He's bummed because he's a 35-year-old desperately trying to be a musician, and those people are just depressed by nature. If you haven't actually succeeded by that point, you are just in a funk. You have become depressed, and yeah. So the crux of the story is kind of about their shifting relationship as they try to figure it out. They've been together for a while, but are we in a rut, or is this a thing that is like a good sort of complacency we've developed, or is this really unhealthy? And so that dynamic is explored through the characters. They move out to the country where she's taken this job. They go hiking. I block out the lens flare because Jar Jar Abrams might sue us for copyright infringement. They go hiking. They get trapped in the rain because they're idiots.
Well, because they've clearly have. I love. He pulls his phone out. It's like, okay, so I have a compass, so that's north, and
What
that
does that
tells us
do?
absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
For the record, Boy Scout here. My dad big into scouting. Almost an Eagle Scout. Me. So watching those two ignore proper trail etiquette, ignore proper preparation, and then fall down a hole. And okay, well, look, we can start a fire by so they fall into the cavern from the opening sequence. Is the long and the short of that. And Dave Franco, like an idiot, decides that instead of refilling his water bottle with fresh rainwater, which is safe, we'll drink groundwater from this weird pond in a sort of biomechanical hole in the ground.
In all fairness, they were scared and very thirsty. They both mentioned how thirsty they were, so probably not thinking clearly.
I'm just gonna.
Well, they had a bottle of wine. I mean, they wouldn't have got dehydrated just drinking the wine till the next morning.
I'm just saying, once again, these are.
Yeah.
I don't mind fish out of water. I really don't. And these two are very much not people of the land and the country, stuck in a situation they are ill prepared for and make very, very, very bad decisions.
Well, I mean, and what's worse about it is they point out that they watch Man versus Wild, and so I mean, even through through osmosis, you're going to pick up some tips just watching that.
You really should learn that rainwater is safe, groundwater not so much. But well, here
Right.
we are. So he drinks and becomes one briefly with this weird location because everything gets sticky and it starts breathing with him. He is connected to it now. But once the rain stops, they're able to get out, and she meets her coworker.
You missed the part. The legs.
Oh,
The
right.
legs
They're like they sleep in close proximity because you want to maintain body warmth. And when they wake up, their legs are kind of stuck together, like super glue. And they have to pull them apart, which is not fun. If you've never been stuck to something like that, it's unpleasant.
In case you've never been stuck to somebody.
Well, look, if you're moderately sensory deprived, who didn't glue their fingers together when they were bored in elementary school? That's all I'm saying.
I know a kid that glued his eyelids shut, but we won't talk about that.
Okay, that's a bit
That's
much.
not boredom. That's Darwin.
Yeah. So there's clearly something going on there, and Mr. Franco starts having more and more bad reactions when he is physically separated from Allison Brie. He starts having seizures, and they're written off as panic attacks, so he gets a prescription for a bunch of muscle relaxers. This is moderately relevant later.
Oh, no, it's because of what happened to his parents, his mother. So...
Well, that too. Like that.
Yeah,
that's the reason they think he's having a psychotic episode instead of seizures.
Well, I mean, we as humans try to think of what the most likely reaction is. And if you found out that someone who was the son of a woman who had a complete mental breakdown upon finding her husband in bed with her and just stayed there and next to the rotting corpse.
Yeah.
And you found out they were having all of these problems, what would you think? They have inherited a genetic predisposition to psychotic breaks, or their bodies are becoming I am rubber, you are glue.
Look, Occam's razor never works in a horror movie, but no one knows they're in a horror movie.
Exactly.
Right.
The long and the short of that. So again, so those reactions start happening. They almost get stuck together another time when he winds up unconsciously swallowing a bunch of her hair. And so they're both freaking out again. The relationship is kind of the subtext to everything that's going on here. She complains to her coworker and their neighbor about what's going on, and he kind of advocates for the importance of fidelity and closeness in intimate relationships, and we know more about that in a minute or two. So one of the big cruxes comes about here is he is supposed to go back to the city to perform in a concert. And when he is dropped off and she drives away, he full on breaks down and freaks out. Staggers over to her because again, she's an elementary school teacher. They wind up in a bathroom together, and if you think that two people who are starting to have weird bits of physical cohesion, touching each other, what that can lead to, what might happen when you engage in sexual activity? It happens.
Yeah. I don't want to relive that.
So, fun fact, apparently the director's partner actually works for a company that makes realistic sex toys. So for that scene, they actually provided,
I assume,
the genitalia free of charge.
I would hope that they didn't use this real one. I mean, because that's on a whole new level of body horror fucked up.
No, I just think it's hilarious because normally that's the kind of thing you got to pay a prop master to make. And Shanks was literally like, no, I brought one from home. And all they had to do was glue a little extra hair onto it to make it realistic enough.
And it's a quick shot, but yeah, it's there. So now that Dave Franco's become Jewish, I never get to make that joke, and I kind of, if the opportunity presented itself.
Hang on. It was called for.
It was. I deserved that. So, again, things keep getting weirder as during one of the nights, their bodies start physically pulling themselves to each other like they're magnets. They fight this off with muscle relaxers because that stops the bodies from moving independently of each other. They wake up with their arms still kind of stuck together. This is where you get the scene from the trailer where they have to use the Sawzall to extricate themselves. Blessedly, I appreciate that they cut that scene short. Like, that's actually good restraint. Anyway, so now they're like, okay,
you don't see it that makes it scarier. In fact, you don't see it going.
You don't need more than what they gave us. So now they're at a little bit of a crossroads, trying to figure out what to do here. Franco wants to go back to the cavern and try to get some answers there, and Alison Brie's like, no, I just sawed into our arms. We're going to the hospital. You know what? Fair. It's a fair reaction.
There's always just a wave of relief when somebody in a horror movie actually speaks reasonably and says the right thing.
Yeah. But she's misplaced her keys because she's in a horror movie. I say that narratively, not as a knock on her character. So she goes to retrieve them from their neighbor, while Dave Franco then, of course, runs off to the cavern again, because of course he does. And two things happen about the same time. He gets back in there and he's looking around for answers, and he finds the couple that people were looking for in the opening scene, badly fused and desperately trying to end their tortured existence. Why this individual didn't show up the first time they spent the night there is beyond me, but they're here now.
That was something I was going to ask you guys. How did that happen? Because it shows up so freely when he goes by himself, but when they spend the night there, this abomination is nowhere to be found.
So
yeah, I was trying to think at first, did he fall into a deeper part of the cavern that maybe the the double up twins there fell into that couldn't get out of, or I was trying to look for some kind of clue. Yeah, there had
I
to
got
been
nothing.
something.
And then something we're going to point out is when she first goes to the neighbor's house, she notices that he has a partner that that is no longer around, and so she starts asking and then you start peeling layers off the onion and start seeing the similarities of both people into one. And he even makes the comment that pays off a little bit later when she goes back. Do you want to watch my wedding video?
Yeah, so as she's over there at his house, while Franco is confronting this Cronenbergian nightmare, she's over at the neighbor's house, and his wedding tape is playing, and it's him and another guy at the temple, at this like meeting house that is the ruined one that's in the woods now.
Actually, he wasn't either of them. Those were two totally different people, and that's
hang on, I'll get to it.
Yeah.
And as she's seeing this and starting to realize, oh no, you know exactly what's going on, the neighbor shows up and spouts semi-religious nonsense and then cuts her arm open. And because he's a professional, he goes down the radial nerve instead of across it.
Right. Because that is how you commit suicide.
And Alison Brie punches. I have a minor gripe with this. Alison Brie punches him in the face, as she should, mind you. And that partially separates the faces of the two guys. Like, if a punch from Alison Brie can destabilize your union, boy, do you really hope never to get even a mild fender bender.
No kidding.
But now she knows a little bit more about what's going on, so she, bleeding out from the arm, staggers back towards Franco, who has come back up as well. They both have attained the terrible knowledge. And Franco goes, look, the only way this ends is one of us dies. So he pulls out a knife and he goes, look, I love you. I care about you. You have a great life. You have great potential. You have a great future. I'm a loser. I remember who I was before I met you, and that guy sucked, and I still kind of suck. So close your eyes. I'm going to save you. And about then, she passes out from blood loss.
As you would.
Yes. And she wakes up back in their house, and he's there with her, and he goes, I'm sorry, this was the only way to stop the bleeding, and he has melded their bodies together over the wound in her arm. And they now reconcile. They express their mutual love and commitment, and literally merge into one being.
As the Spice Girls play Two Become One.
Raise your hand if you knew that was the song they were going to play.
I did not. I was hoping it was Wannabe.
I'm not familiar enough with the Spice Girls' work to have made anything even approximating a reasonable guess.
I'm embarrassed to admit I don't listen to the Spice Girls regularly, but obviously I know their songs. And the minute he put the record on, I knew what song it was going to play. I'm like, oh dear God. It's just like writing on the wall here, folks.
Nothing wrong with being on the nose sometimes.
Yeah, little on the nose. Little on the nose.
The merged being, that is the two of them, greets her parents, and boy, that's going to be an awkward conversation. Because we've reached the point in the writing where theme has to overcome substance in theory. And that is it. That is together a modern take on body horror, codependency, and dating in the modern world. So, Jayson, you've given us a few of your thoughts, but I'd love to hear them in specific detail. So the floor is yours, sir. You get to go first.
Well, let's just say that I've seen this on Saturday. It is now Tuesday when we're doing this show, and I'm still contemplating what the fuck I watch. The more I think about it, and the more I talk about it, the more questions I have. It's like, do you really? The whole Bell thing, kind of was ominous. And, you go down the bells, you see these bells. The fact that, the merging was just, the first time they merge is just so uncomfortable. It is one of those ones that I was actually squeamish on. Because it is, it's done in a really good way that shows like the bones and stuff kind of fusing and kind of um, manipulated to the point where it's uncomfortable, and that was spectacular. And that I excuse me, I did. The movie was all right. It wasn't great. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't the worst thing I've seen. It wasn't one that it's not going to make any top 10 lists because it was. I felt that it was trying to tell three different stories. It was three short stories trying to be merged into a feature long film. And I think it had a lot of social commentary in that it was kind of hammering you over the head with like the codependency, the downfalls of relationship, and that's something that they could have went a little bit deeper in. Is the whole codependency, the fact that he was an anchor to her. She had a bright future. She was thriving, and he's basically a giant man child who can't is stuck in neutral, spinning these wheels and can't move forward in life, and he's dependent on her. Now, that being said, the jump scare was something that I highly commend. That jump scare in when she comes to the other side of the door was very, very, very effective.
It
But
helps that that's one of the few jump scares in this movie that isn't telegraphed from left field.
Mm-hmm.
right, and I don't remember if she drank while they was in the cave, and that helped it because I'm trying to rethink back because, like I said, I'm still trying to figure out what the fuck I watched. I'm trying to figure out when her symbiotic relationship began because I remember when they're talking and her nose or something starts bleeding. She's bleeding somewhere, and her blood starts trickling across the table to him, like being drawn to him.
Oh, that was so creepy when he looks down and sees the blood is actually
And
followed him across the table.
yeah, it's really good. It's a subtle detail that is very very effective, and it gives you kind of the chills because when they're going down that hallway and their bodies start manipulating to each other, that was very unnerving because you see the bend, you see the contortion of her, not so much him, but her contortion coming down that from the room into that hallway.
She almost pulls
And
a Malevolent.
yeah, and well, I mean, I thought she was Bray Wyatt for a second, getting ready to crab walk across the floor, but
She's
that's a whole different
definitely
story.
pulling an Exorcist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's something that's good. I think this movie needed to be fleshed out a little bit more. I think it kind of jumped around a little bit. Like I said, I felt it was like three stories trying to be intertwined. You had the thing with the cultist, the codependency, and the symbiotic relationship that they stumble on. So I think it's just one of those movies that will I ever watch it again? No. Was it enjoyable? Eh, it's debatable. But I think it's also one of the things that suffers from the critics being shilling that it was a lot better movie than it is, and the audience realizing we shouldn't listen to the damn critics.
All right, Alexis.
I really enjoyed this. Casting real life couple Franco and Bree was a smart move. I don't know if you two have seen them in The Disaster Artist, but they were great together in that. Again, I don't know what your thoughts are on Tommy Wiseau or James Franco, but regardless of those factors, they were really, really good together. in that movie. They have natural chemistry. We see a lot of times in films where we see a real life married couple trying to portray lovers on the screen, and it just doesn't work out. That chemistry does not translate onto film. These guys had it. It really worked. I actually got very interested in the use of the Plato Symposium, the three genders, as kind of the backstory for the cult and for what happens. The theory of the three genders is actually one of my favorite parts of the symposium. I've always found it to be extremely fascinating. And to actually see them kind of expand on that, I thought was really cool. The scares were great. Again, I mentioned whoever's in charge of the sound effects here is going. Congratulations, because you have given me nightmare fuel. So often we don't actually see their bodies conjoining until about, I'd say, closer to the 2/3 point of the movie. But frequently we hear that squelching of the bones kind of moving around and the skin getting closer to one another. And oh my God, just like the sound when before she wakes up, it says, "You're on my hair." That oh God, it is terrifying. And I love that. I love that they're able to use the sound effects like that to convey so much horror. We don't have to see the hair start going down his throat. We just hear that sound and we know something's wrong. This director,
Slightly wet sandpaper was kind of the feeling I got out of that one.
this director is really good at the concept that what you don't see is actually scarier than what you do see. So much of this movie is left up to the imagination of the audience, and it is terrifying. I thought there was a lot of really good blocking and cinematography. The scene where he's in the shower having a seizure and she's driving her car, and we get kind of that drone overhead following her, and we see his body reacting in the same way. Insanely creative, well done way to mimic of what she's doing to what he's doing, to line it up really well. Thought that was really good. Very much so enjoyed, what the hell was his name? Damon Harriman, who played the neighbor, Jamie. Mark and I actually just talked about him recently in The Bondsman. He played a very bizarre character in that. And he is good. He's
finish that at some point.
It was okay.
And that's the feeling I've got, but I'm willing to give it a. It's not long enough to be like to scare me off.
He's also a character actor, and he's going to be in the upcoming Mortal Kombat sequel. I believe he's Quan Chi.
Excellent. So I'll get to talk about him some more.
Yes, we are. But yeah, no, I've seen him in a handful of things. He's a really good character actor. So, credit to that. And I do like how they laid out his character. When he started talking about the bond between him and his husband, I actually thought at first, oh, were you also a victim of the water? I didn't realize it was going to actually turn out, oh shit, he's a member of the cult. I thought it was going to be, I didn't realize there was a cult. I thought it was simply this water was just a natural occurrence thing. He had found it. He and his husband had found it. They had bonded, and he was just making the best of it. Before you find out, no, he actually is like deliberate in this shit. I don't know if this is going to be in a top 10 for me. We've already seen a couple other horror movies this year, and right now I think The Monkey is a little bit better than this, but I still very much so enjoyed it. And if you are a fan of body horror, if you can take a little blood and guts and some very disturbing CGI, seeing body parts kind of merge under their skin together, I'd recommend it.
And if you have 2 hours to watch a movie that will make you question your life going forward, this is a solid venture into that.
Look, if a movie doesn't make you question at least some part of your life when it's all over, is it really worth it?
Sometimes I think the two become ones. You and Mark, Robert, the symbiotic relationship.
I should also say, I don't know. I know that I'm the only one on this podcast currently married, but I don't know the longest relationship either of you have been in. But there is a point in relationships, and I think this movie actually really does do a good job examining it. You get to a point where you do kind of become complacent.
Yeah.
It turns into, okay, so is this just where we're going to be? Is it going to be forever? Are things going to get better? Are they going to get worse? Is it going to be is it just going to stay like this? There comes to a point where the honeymoon period is over. You still love each other, but you don't know if there is anything left to this relationship, and you want it to continue. Every relationship kind of goes through that at one point, if it's, if you've been going at it long enough.
Yeah, this is maybe going to sound weird coming from me, but I found the ending of this movie bizarrely optimistic. And stay with me here for a second or two, if you don't mind.
I'm all ears.
Yes,
I'm waiting to see how this goes.
Okay. Yes, it goes to a horrific conclusion because it's a horror movie. But if you look at what's actually being said via the subtext, the movie here is about the relationship between these two characters, and what are we gonna, what are we gonna do with ourselves? What are we gonna do with this? Like, how is this gonna work going forward? Has this run its course? And the fact that they arrive at a mutual decision to do kind of what you, okay, I am far from an expert in personal experience, but again, kind of go with me here. Long-term relationships, and especially marriage, there does come a point when the friction that happens is sort of the necessary smoothing of edges to get you to stop being the person you used to be, and the both of you sort of do become a new. You become new, but you sort of become a new person together. It's why you talk about the relationship kind of like its own thing. It is two individuals, but what makes it work is the total of what the two bring together becoming one. And this is long documented throughout the study of human relationships. The fact that this movie ends with them deciding to take that step, and yes, again, I get it, horror movie, but a more like bleak ending is actually the reverse. If you think about it thematically, the bleak ending would have been one of them killing themselves. And instead, we actually do kind of get this optimistic version of this where they've dealt with their strife. He's realized, okay, who I was no good, and I'm ready to work and become a better person for the sake of this. And she kind of stops resenting him as much as she has been and realizes some of her own issues, and they decide to be better together. And again, because horror movie, horrifying consequence. But thematically, textually, if you redraw this movie as a Hallmark, it has a good ending because they work their stuff out.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying because, like most Christian weddings, you have the unity candle where you have the two flames becoming one. I see where you're getting that, and you're pulling that correlation. Secondly, I wish they would have ended the movie with "So Happy Together."
Yes.
That would have been a great music cue. When she opened the door, "So Happy Together" just started playing. That would have been good.
I would have gone similar in the diegetic frame. I would have had that be what her parents are listening to when they drive up.
Oh, that would have been even. That would have been even good. And or "It Takes Two" would have been a good one. But yeah, I mean, I totally get what you're coming from. You have that kind of if they would have closed it out watching they was where while they're pulling up, she's watching Jerry Maguire, and he looks at her and says, "You complete me." Well, that would have been
two on the nose for me.
Well, I mean, the Spice Girls two become one. That's I mean that you could have just kind of leaned into it even more. We could have just got those two cues at the end. Her watching Jerry Maguire saying, "You complete me," and then "So Happy Together" playing up from her parents. So, yeah, So how would you guys rate this movie? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you guys give it?
Feels like a 6.5, 6 3/4, somewhere in that range. There's some
That's
really
not what I'm calling.
there's some good scares. The effects are pretty good, both CGI and practical, because they're sparing with the CGI.
Mm-hmm.
There's some writing issues. You can't get around it. There's an attempt at the Lovecraftian element near the end with the cult, and bear in mind, not
Yeah.
cosmic horror. Not all Lovecraft is cosmic horror. A lot of Lovecraft stuff can just lean into the weird stuff that we find. So there's a lean a little bit towards that, and with a bigger budget and maybe a clearer vision, this would have leaned more folk horror than anything else, with everyone kind of being in on it. But we got what we got out of it. So
Yeah.
ultimately, again, there's issues of writing. You can see where the budget is constraining, mostly in the cast. This is a very small cast, and it's the wrong. Unfortunately, it's the wrong end of small enough to be claustrophobic, but not big enough to actually feel like a fully lived-in world. So that's just one of the constraints you have to deal with when dealing with film like this. You do what you can with what you have. I'm just pointing it out. I'm not holding it too much.
Right.
I'd personally give it an 8 out of 10. You know, Robert, you bring up some really good points. Again, chemistry, good. Visual effects, great. Yeah, there's a couple little problems with the writing, but a lot of it falls into the category of, well, it has to be like this, otherwise there's no movie.
Yeah. My other gripe, and this is a personal one, but it's kind of what knocks it down a little bit for me. The over-reliance on the very, very obvious telegraphed jump scare. My tolerance for that is just very low these days. So the fact that we get like 4 of them, that's, oh boy, we got an audio cue going on here. Boy, I wonder what's going to happen. Oh, it got quiet. And then
I still jumped when the rat squeaked.
Oh yeah. Now the
the Rat King.
Yeah, I would fall in about 6.5. The one thing that could have pushed it higher for me is if they would have made the town, the quote unquote town, a character, and leaned into that. Like everybody knew what was going on, and everybody had some kind of correlation to it. If they would have leaned into that a little bit more, and I think that like the entire town being part of the cult, and these outsiders kind of stumble in and made it like kind of a tourist trap thing, I think that would have been really good to flesh out and use the town as basically a supporting character. Just open it up a little bit more, like you said, so the cast doesn't feel like it's really claustrophobic and you're focused on this. But then again, you have the outlier of the whole town is in on it, but they're not really wanting to show that the town's in on it, and the effects. Like it could have been a really weird, and they could have passed it off as like, and I'm going to say this, and you guys are going to laugh. It's like kind of like an inbreeding thing, and showed it like because you didn't really like. You could have had like you could have done it like parents. The parents, everybody was just a single parent because of they merged, and the children are just offspring. They're offspring of 2 parents, but the parents have merged, and everybody's a single parent to these children. I think that would have been a really like 10-minute insert that could have fleshed this movie out a lot better.
Yeah,
I think it would have really rolled into like a Stephen King territory there, but I could get behind that.
Yeah,
no kids are fucking, so we're keeping Stephen King out of that. There's no prepubescent orgy, so Stephen King is not inclined to join in.
Not every Stephen King novel includes a prepubescent orgy. and other sentences I never thought I'd have to say.
I've said that more than once. The irony of it, though, the unfortunate bit of it, though, is that it is in maybe his most famous book. So
Yeah.
he's written hundreds of others at this point, but
Yeah, it's like you could save 1,000 people from a burning home, but you fuck one goat. Are you known as a hero or a goat fucker?
that's kind of how that goes. Yeah, I think, again, not to doctor this too much, but a couple of things you could have done to tweak this. If you're going to show the wider town, then the setting does need to become a little bit of a character unto itself, and that's where this movie kind of falls down. The way to kind of get around that is to actually deliberately make it more claustrophobic, and that sense never quite comes through with this. I'm not sure exactly how I would. Again, at that point you get into real specific stuff about how you generate that sense of confinement in a movie. But that might have been something that leaning a little bit more into that could have been giving the thing a little bit more atmosphere. Because if there's an element that this movie is lacking, the majority of the tension and scares come from the score and the sound rather than a lot of the acting or a lot of what you do with the camera. So because the other reason I'm being a little bit kinder to this than maybe I would under other circumstances is this is the guy's first time directing a feature. For a first time outing, you know what? I'll grade you on a curve a little bit, and again, get you almost to a 7 from where I sit. But yeah, there's still things to improve upon.
It's not a bad first outing for a director.
No, not at
I
all.
agree.
So yeah, that is Together. So happy together.
Still not singing, Zach.
Okay. So did we have another segment we want to do, or are we about ready to close up? We're at the hour mark.
I feel like we've covered just about everything because I figure with us three, we would probably stray into doing what we did with the Pet Cemetery review and start talking about 15 other movies like we did at the beginning.
That's the other reason I wanted to do that earlier, so we didn't drag it out doing it. We front load that part.
Exactly. Now, this is our second Damn You Hollywood this week. Robert, you joined Mark and Zachary Strobel last night to discuss Naked Gun, and during that you did the money and looked at the budget. So we are going to skip doing the money. Sorry?
We don't have to go deep into it, but for the record, for this movie in particular, budget of $17 million. It's appropriate. Currently $12.2 million box office. That's actually not bad for this kind of a film. It's probably not going to see profitability until after it gets whatever streaming deal it's going to get. But for a studio like Neon, you're not over the moon about this, but the dirty secret of Hollywood is that horror movies are the engine for production studios because you do them cheap. Most of them turn enough of a profit, and occasionally you get a big old home run that finances your catastrophic failures like Babylon.
Well, I'll say this is why you see so many horror franchises because they really are not that expensive to maintain, and they can churn them out pretty quickly.
New Line doesn't exist without Freddy. Is one of the examples.
Yeah, New Line is the house Freddy Krueger built.
Yep. So that's where we are monetarily with this one at the moment. Probably going to wind up struggling a bit, but again, smaller budget. It'll probably wind up being okay after it gets whatever streaming deal it's going to get. So if any of this interests you, please go give it a look. It's not a bad movie by any stretch, but.
Now, did you guys have multiple showings? There was only 3 showings at the theater I went to. Between the two theaters, there was a total of 6 showings, 3 at each.
I looked at 2 again. I was in Omaha all weekend, so I literally came back today, and I was looking at 2 different theaters on which one I'd be able to catch, and I think between the 2 of them, one had 4 showings, one had 5 showings. So,
Oh, interesting. Because I mean, they had a total of 6 showings here in Huntington, which is really odd. And there was early showings. There was all matinees.
Mm.
We did have no prime time.
The way my local theaters work is for this kind of thing, they don't, they just give it a screen, basically, is more or less how it works. There was at least one screen at the local, megaplex dedicated to this that had like showings so it had like
Hey,
5 or 6 throughout the whole day.
Robert, if anybody has listened to the Rattlinger Broadcasting Network long enough, they know you and your 3 raccoons in a trench coat go watch movies together every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m.
This wound up being at 11 because my
Oh,
Tuesday
okay.
mornings are kind of spoken for.
Oh.
And now I have to do it on Monday, which actually costs me more money since because we used to have Damn You Hollywood on Tuesdays. We
Blame
moved it to
Mark.
Mondays, and now I don't get to go see movies on $5 Tuesdays unless we're doing one of these.
apparently, AMC has cut their cheap Tuesdays now.
Yeah, the theaters around here are mostly Cinemark. There's a there's a Megaplex. Oh, north a little bit. That's where my
Okay.
IMAX theater is. So if I go see something there in IMAX, I got to go up there.
I just know because the couple in front of me apparently was having to be explained to them. The managers apparently having to explain to them why they were paying a more expensive price for the ticket. To which I'm in the back realizing that I didn't know how many previews this movie had, but since it was
they fill it. If it's not with previews, it's literally just with commercials.
Well,
30 minutes.
Again, I was worried. I was cutting this so close. So I am literally standing behind this very angry couple who, ironically, we're also buying tickets for together. And I'm like, look, I don't want to be a bitch, but the movie starts in 20 seconds. To which the manager looked at me and said, it has 20 minutes of previews. You're fine.
I had 30 minutes of previews. I think I could have watched an entire. I think I watched an entire movie before the movie even started. Previews.
In all fairness, smaller movies and horror movies genuinely have less previews than big budget blockbusters. So I didn't know.
Again, it's gotten to the point where most theaters will have the allotted time, and if there's not previews, then here's your commercial for a car company or whatever.
So you can guarantee that 15, 20 minutes past the start time of your movie is actually going to start.
Yeah, give or take. That's the state of moviegoing these days. All right, so do we want to hit Rotten Tomatoes briefly, or we want to call it?
I say we hit Rotten Tomatoes. I think Mark will be mad at me if we don't do Rotten Tomatoes.
It's not Damn You Hollywood if we don't have the critical review, I suppose.
All right, so let's do it.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
I hate it when it's got this banner on top and it's like you try to scroll down, it's like, nope, going to take half the page off with it.
That's always annoying.
All right. Well, hey, right now, Together is rated 90% by critics and 77% based off of the audience score.
That's about right. This is one of those like pseudo art house horror movies that critics will fall over themselves trying to praise unnecessarily.
And the AI says, given an extra sinew of authenticity by the metatextual casting of metatextual. That's not a word you see very often. Casting of Alison Brie.
It is in certain circles.
And Dave Franco at the top of their game. Together is a body horror that is as emotionally sticky as it is memorably gnarly. And yes, there are quite a few scenes that are very sticky.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
All right. Now, since I think the three of us agreed that this was pretty good, let's look for some negative reviews. So, Edwin, Arnaudin from Asheville Movies might be metaphorically rich if it wasn't so on the nose and mired by gimmicky body horror. The movie is
This-
body horror. It's not gimmicky if that's what it is.
Yeah, this is inherent to the premise, ergo not all that gimmicky in that respect. And being on the nose is kind of what you have to do with something when your metaphor is that obvious to begin with. If you don't lean into being on the nose, you come across as obtuse.
I get the feeling that this was the guy who, like me, saw two become one written on the wall for the final song and literally started pounding his head into the seat in front of him going, no, 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 or something like that.
Decent chance.
Okay, Eric Langberg from Everything's Interesting. No, it's
Not
not.
everything's interesting. That is a false.
I can
I'll
imagine
say
a certain type of person watching this movie and coming away thinking it's about the evils of the woke agenda, about the insidious way that queer acceptance has threatened the stability of heterosexual relationships. Wow, dude,
Okay.
you
Okay.
really read the wrong thing on this.
My man, you, whatever side you happen to be on about this, I'm not commenting. Beyond saying you have been in the culture war far too long. If your level of PTSD around it is such that you can't unsee culture war bullshit in this kind of a movie.
I'm just confused. I'm more confused about that comment than I was about the fucking movie. Because
I'm guessing it's because there is please tell me I'm not the only one who actually did wonder. It's like, okay, so if a guy and a girl combine together to become one, I wonder what genitals they'll have. I'm not
I've
gonna
never
lie,
thought about that.
I'm sorry, that thought did briefly flash into my head. Then I thought, that's a stupid thought. I don't care.
No,
It's
I
a
mean,
body horror movie. It's kind of
Yeah.
whatever the director's screwed up mind
Yeah.
can conjure.
yeah, but I mean, I'm curious if he pulled a hamstring with that stretch. I mean, that was a bad stretch because I seen nothing. I made no correlation from anything that he said to this movie.
Again, this is the kind of guy who's been stuck in the culture war for so long that he just sees it everywhere, and there's no VA benefits for that being that kind of a veteran.
Yeah,
I think
sorry, dude. Just because the person at the end is clearly a very androgynous person does not mean this was a message about being non-binary.
Yeah, none of that.
Right?
is
Yeah, I mean,
present.
I was just wondering if I was the only one that thought he was reaching a hell of a lot.
No, he's absolutely overreaching, and he's the one inserting his agenda into talk because there's no reason to talk about it other
None
than your own
whatsoever.
desire to insert whatever your talking point is.
I mean, he probably is one of those people that likes to hear himself talk and post something like that just to get some kind of commentary and some kind of clickbait.
He gets a cheap
Probably.
dopamine hit from that poll getting likes
Yeah.
on Twitter.
Right.
Yeah. Chuck Bowen from Style Weekly out of Richmond, Virginia. Who is this odd and bland mixture of thriller and romance for? Well, not you.
The horror community, sir.
Yeah, there's a whole niche body horror fans
Yeah.
that would appreciate this, and not everything. Now, I want to say this, and it's going to sound really weird, especially coming from me. Not everything has an agenda, so why put an agenda where there is none?
Vincent from the Cosmic Circus says the film contains the year's most unoriginal and unimaginative screenplay.
Sir, I'm reviewing War of the Worlds next week with Ice Cube staring at a computer screen for the duration. You have not suffered as I have suffered. You get to shut up.
How does that argument even hold up when this is the same year we got the live action Snow White?
Yeah.
True. There's the number of things that make this statement untrue is large. Dude, the Lilo and Stitch movie's uninspired and unimaginative too from
Very
a writing
true.
standpoint. They just stop.
Don't get me started on Lilo and Stitch or How to Train Your Dragon live action.
Oh
We
yeah,
don't
yeah.
talk
There's
about
that
them.
this year too.
We don't talk about either one of them because Jason will become infuriated and Jason will go off the deep end and crash out, and there will be one of those 10-minute durations of just beeps because I will take it to a whole new level of just crashing out and no filter. So
Ohana
moving
means
on.
family, and family means nothing in the live action remakes.
Pretty much.
And family means leaving your adopted niece behind because with the neighbors, so you can go be a boss bitch. But that's all we're saying. We're not going any further into that. Moving on.
Zachary Barnes for the Wall Street Journal, top critic, says Together is less a fully conceived horror movie than a plotting relationship drama with some impressively disgusting effects superimposed on it. The two elements, alas, don't quite complete each other. This is a dude who has never had a relationship with anyone besides his right hand.
I can.
You took the words out of my mouth.
I'm gonna say this in his defense. He's not entirely wrong. I mean,
Yes,
that's
he
one of
is.
the things we were talking about. Like, if you told me this was a part of the reason I'm as gentle on this movie as I was is because I know it's a first timer, and I'm happy to grade on that curve. I would feel very differently about this movie if it was somebody's fifth or sixth. Same movie, but from a guy who's made 5 or 6 other films, other feature-length films. I feel very, very differently about it.
That's true. It's very similar to when we reviewed Lisa Frankenstein. We knew
Yeah.
that was a first-time movie for Zelda Williams, and we didn't want to rake her over the coals for it.
I don't care. If you put something out for the public can judge it accordingly.
I
Do you get leniency? Yes, but when it comes down to it, there's a standard of horror that you need to at least try to maintain.
I don't begrudge anyone else judging them differently. I just say that personally, I do grade on a curve when it comes to a handful of things. First time feature director is one of those things that I'm happy to grade on a curve for. But if I'm feeling less generous,
Robert, when did you become the nice one?
I'm not nice. Okay.
When did you become the sympathetic, nice one, the bleeding heart? Did Mark rub off on you? You've been hanging around Mark way too long. You're becoming a bleeding heart.
When has Mark been a bleeding heart? I don't think that was when I was around.
Okay.
Anytime he's on the show with Robert, he's always the optimist.
If you want the honest bit, when I started becoming a little bit more charitable about some of this stuff, I got real tired of people not understanding my standards in pro wrestling reviews.
Okay,
So,
I understand.
Consequently, that all started because I gave a pretty positive review to an AEW YouTube show back when that was the thing. And somebody in the comments jokingly went, "Wow, this is rated so much higher than the episode of Raw this week. So is it that much better?" Which point I had to say, I'm not grading them on the same curve. It's not fair to this show, which is a bunch of enhancement matches on YouTube, to compare it to a flagship program. That would not be fair. I don't grade go-home shows for pay-per-views the same way either, because nobody does anything of value for the most part, because nobody wants to get hurt. So I'm willing to give a first-time director a little bit more of a pass than I am someone who should know better and have done better on a bunch of this kind of stuff. But again, that's me, and I say that just so everyone knows where I'm coming from. If you disagree with me, but the substance of our points is the same, then I'm okay with that.
Okay.
All right. So Allison Wilmore, New York Magazine /Vulture, again, top critic. Brian Franco, in providing nuance and texture to Millie and Tim, may actually have worked against a film that would be better off allowing its characters to be in an unhealthy relationship from the beginning rather than just a flubbed allegory. Okay, so apparently you need this to be like the War of the Roses level of they have trouble.
I think the dynamic works because you see the symbiotic relationship without the supernatural thing, that he is depending on her to, but yet, like I said earlier, he's holding her down. He's anchoring her, because of all his failures in life, he's holding her back, and it's to the point where she's, she's really, you can see it, and they do it subtly. She's really thinking about walking away from the relationship because she just can't be his emotional support any longer.
There's a version of this story that is just deeply toxic, and that's fine. That's not a bad version of this story to tell, but I appreciate that this one didn't go that way. This person, I'm sure, is looking forward to the upcoming War of the Roses adaptation, where Benedict Cumberbatch and what's her face? Because I like her work and I can never remember her name.
Olivia Colman, I think. Something
Yeah,
like that.
when those two go to kill each other, that'll be great.
Again, I like that their relationship isn't that overly dramatic, because this is something that, again, a lot of couples go through. You still love each other. You still enjoy each other's company. This isn't, we need to break up because clearly we're at the end of our commitment and we don't want to be around each other. This is, we still love each other, but is staying in a relationship together the healthiest move?
The complacency.
Let me put it this way. A less ambitious director and writer would have made this a story about two toxic people. A more competent writer and director would have taken the nuance provided by that he was going for here and turned in something really great. We're kind of stuck between those 2 points here with what we've got ultimately.
Yeah, but I mean, I didn't see any issue with the relationship. I think it was a really good balance to show things that progressed into what we got at the end.
All right. Adam Naiman of the Toronto Star, again, top critic. For every cheap composition or striking bit of staging, there's a cheap, predictable... For every creepy composition or striking bit of staging, there's a cheap, predictable jump scare. Eventually, it's clear the movie isn't above such conventions, but sutured together from them.
That's a little bit further than I'm willing to go, but as the guy who spent his portion of the review saying that there's a lot of jump scares that I'm more than a little bit tired of, I can't disagree with a lot of that.
And he had to throw the metaphor of sutured in there, which is,
of course they did.
Yeah, why not?
Sandra Hall, Sydney Morning Herald, top critic. Shanks whips up a convincing air of menace, but I'm no fan of body horror in its most explicit form, and the gross out scenes had a countervailing effect on me, encouraging me to respond not with shock, but a faintly clinical detachment. I have a problem with this, with people who review movies that are clearly not meant for them. I understand that, not every movie is going to be every critic's cup of tea, but it's very hard to watch to read a review of someone who openly admits, you know what, I don't like this kind of movie in the first place. You're not going to get a good review out of them.
I appreciate the intellectual honesty of this person to at least admit that. So, you know what? Thumbs up for that.
All right. Well, guys, as much as fun as this been, I am going to have to start heading out.
Yeah, I think we're probably good here at this point.
All right, then let's forget about this last review here, who calls it The Exorcist meets emotional labor.
Yeah,
emotional labor is one of those stupid faux therapy speak words that I've come to loathe.
Yeah.
All right, well, hey, Jayson,
since we're wrapping up here, what do you got to plug, sir?
Well, actually, I'll go ahead and say it here, as well as, I don't know if I've made it known I think I did in the main chat. I actually, a couple of weekends ago, I actually represented the Rattlegion Broadcasting Network in the Scott Fish Bowl charity draft in Nashville, Tennessee.
How'd you do?
So I am participating for our live draft was for National Autism. We got to meet some of the local autistic people that benefits from the charity that we're playing for, as well as get some great information and resources that, and learn a little bit about autism while doing something I greatly love, and that's fantasy football. And, I spoke to Mark and I asked him if he had a problem with me going on as a representative of the Religion Broadcasting Network. He said was perfectly fine. So there might be a return of a certain show coming up. I've yet to talk to Mark about it. I'm still kind of mulling around if I have the time to do it, but come September 1, there might be a show returning to the network. Just if I can find a co-host that can tolerate me for longer than an hour to talk fantasy football, that's what we're going to do. Also, in the process of opening up my own business, we are got the LLC. We're waiting to get the trailer built, and we meet with someone upcoming with the we'll have our own brand of coffee called Brewed Awakening. It should be coming hopefully if not November, then definitely the start of 2026. So Brewed Awakening coffee will be plugged often on shows once it's up and running. And outside of that, we return here in a couple of weeks when we review weapons, if I'm correct.
Not a couple of weeks. Next week.
Oh, is it next week? Oh, Lord.
It is next week.
I thought it was 2 weeks away. Okay. So yeah. So I gotta fit that into the schedule this weekend.
When you get your coffee company up and running, the darkest, bitterest blend you can put together has to go to Mark.
Well, no, actually, what's the funniest thing is one of the espressos is going to be named after my mom. It's going to be enough caffeine to stop your heart because she did die of a massive heart attack. So we are naming it after her and creating enough caffeine to stop your heart. So yeah, that's my sense of humor. And if I'm going to get something, Mark, it's going to be extremely homosexual and pink, and I'll name it the RIND. But that's all I've got to plug. You guys have a wonderful day. And I guess I got to figure out how to fit this movie in next week because as of this weekend, I'll be in Columbus this weekend and Saturday night. So I got to figure out how to figure this.
Kick him in the balls.
Well, I guess I'm going to go see Matt Rife. So same difference.
He's not dead by then.
No kidding.
Well,
that man, what? I appreciate that he just tap dances on every landmine he can on that.
That's the beauty of it.
I found at least 3 websites that are officially counting down the days until his death. Now that he's purchased the where the Annabelle doll is located.
Yeah, the Ward Estate. Yeah, I can. I'm sure that'll be brought up in the show, sir. But I guess I will see you guys next week. Hopefully, worst case scenario, I'll fake sick at work and dip out and watch it on Monday or Tuesday. So I will see you guys.
So I hope your boss doesn't watch our show.
I'm my own boss. I'm a 1099.
Nice.
Only thing I got to do is like, hey, I'm not working past. I don't need any leads past 5 o'clock. I'm going to go see a movie. Or hey, don't give me a lead till 3 o'clock. I got to go movie to see. That's how I seen the new Superman. I told him, I was like, look, Superman released today. We got out of our sales meeting. I was like, look, I'm going to go watch Superman. So it ends at this time. So I'm free after that. And he was like, okay. So yeah. So you guys have a wonderful evening, and I will see you next week.
See you in a week, man.
All right. See you guys.
All right, Alexis, what do you got to plug?
All right. Well, like I said, Honeysuckle Rose Creations, where fashion meets fandom at the intersection of geek and chic. Like I mentioned earlier, we just got back from Omaha. I was working the Comic-Con, Nebraska. This is a brand new show. They just started off this year. A slow start, but you know what? For a first year, it was really good. And we've already signed for a table with them next year. So looking forward to being part of their growth. Don't really have a lot of time to rest, though, because I am going to be heading out not this coming weekend, but next weekend for the Colorado Springs Comic-Con. We do that one every year. If you're in the area, be sure to swing by, especially since among the guest list of celebrities they got there, they have a large roster of actors from the Kevin Smith movies, including, oh, look at that, Kevin Smith and Jayson Mewes themselves will be there. So, enjoying that, looking forward to it. As always, you can find us on our online stores. We are fully stocked on Etsy and Handmade at Amazon. You can always find us on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, screw you, Twitter, not looking back, and as long as it's still operational, TikTok. As far as upcoming shows, tomorrow night I'll be coming back with Mark to talk Monsters Season 2. That is the Lyle and Eric Menendez story. I'm going to talk about how Javier Bardem has got a Emmy nomination for proving that man is still absolutely terrifying.
If the director asks him to do something, he is one of the better actors going. He's just not afraid to choose projects that are either very weird or very paycheck.
It is so surreal to watch him in the Dune movies and then go and watch him in this playing the father of these two murders. Because, oh my God, he is. We'll be talking about this more, but he is so scary in this series.
Because I was first introduced to him, like a lot of people, in No Country for Old Men.
Likewise.
He's also very scary in a different way. He's the one in Mother, if memory serves. That's him and Jennifer Lawrence. The whole thing's in a weird allegory. It's not a...
I couldn't watch it because I thought that's a Darren Aronofsky film, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I usually like Darren Aronofsky. In fact, I saw a trailer for a movie that he's got coming up that I think actually looks pretty good. I thought I'm not a fan of allegory that hits you over the head with the symbolism. I prefer...
And that one definitely does.
Yeah, I prefer more abstract, draw your own conclusions kind of an allegory. That one, it's just, nope, no room for, suggestion or differing opinions. This is what it is. You'll get over it. I can't stand movies that do that.
Yeah, but he's got presence in that one, if nothing else. So, yeah, Javier Bardem's always a good time.
Yeah, so we will be back to talk about that. Again, next week, the three of us will be back to talk weapons. That I didn't intend for these movies to be back-to-back, but we said we wanted to do both of them, and they came out the weekend after each other, so it's like, okay, fine, we're doing back-to-back shows. And the day after that, I will be joined by Jesse Starcher. We are starting our Stranger Things retrospective. We're going to be doing one season per month leading up to the premiere of Season 5 at the end of December, with one exception. And that is, since the month of December, we got to wait. We are actually going to be talking a graphic novel, Stranger Things meets Ninja Turtles.
Of all the 80s crossovers they could have done, that was a choice.
I got nothing, but I got the book, and Jesse and I are going to talk about it. So we're going to start our retrospective next week. And the week after that... This is when, okay, it's funny that you talk about how August nothing is coming out.
Somehow we're busiest.
And yet, in the world of television, this is when I'm the busiest. Because we have had so many shows coming out. And I'm going to be, the week after Stranger Things, TV party tonight, Mark and I will be discussing Resident Alien Season 4, because the world needs more Alan Tudyk. And shortly after that, Jayson is coming back. He's going to be joining me and new guest Josh Thino. We're going to be talking Twisted Metal Season 2. Really excited about that, because now it looks like we're really getting into the meat of the game. We're getting into the actual tournament. We get to see Calypso, played by the same actor who played Metamorpho in Superman. He's a good actor.
Well, if you need someone to look a little bit scary, hiring someone with alopecia is usually easier than getting someone to shave their bodies.
You know what? He gets frequently cast as villains, and he
Well,
said, I read a review by him saying that, he said, I make the alopecia work for me. So he works exactly. He's like, I
well,
don't
I
have
should
body.
clarify that that's alopecia universalis, technically.
Yeah.
Because
But no,
alopecia is just a fancy word for baldness.
true. But what he has is
Yeah,
no body hair.
Yeah, that's again the universalis version, which is the only version that I tend to recognize as being worth talking about, because androgenic alopecia is just male pattern baldness, and then gynogenic, alopecia is why Jada Pinkett Smith thinks she can
Convince her husband to slap Chris Rock.
assault someone on national television.
Yeah, no, it was actually a really affirming article because he talked about how he made it work for him. He said, it's like, well, if I don't have this problem, then I can play roles that require a lot of prosthesis and makeup where most actors don't want to go through that kind of a thing. So,
and it's also a lot easier when you can apply stuff directly to the skin. So
yeah, so credit to him for owning it and making it work. Again, I really liked him as Metamorpho. I cannot wait to see him as Calypso. I think he's going to be a lot of fun. Also, credit, he is not one of the actors we predicted taking that role. We were so off on that. I think we all thought it was going to be Mark Hamill, but he was too busy filming The Long Walk, which we need to review that.
I will double check if it's on the schedule or not. I also need to. I think I own it. I probably do. If I don't, I can find it. I read it. I don't reread a whole lot because, not to brag, but my recall is so good that if I read something once, I tend to just retain the vast majority of it.
Well, I kind of figure that you're usually the one who remembers the movie quotes better than I do. Yeah. I mean, I didn't even get to bring up the joke about the mildew that Dave Frank says in this movie, which had the whole audience actually laughing real. Or it's like,
mildew sticking us together. Like, that's not how that works, man.
But I
said it was mildew. What do I know about mildew?
That was a great line. This movie actually did have a couple really good laughs. I love this. He was like, Valium. It's like he gets the muscle relaxation. He's like, Valium. It just in pain. He says, it's called diazepam now.
Call it diazepam now. Yeah,
that was great.
Yeah, look, I'm more excited for what this director's going to do going forward than I am enthused about this movie in particular. But
yeah, again, very similar to Zelda Williams. You know what? The movie had flaws, but it is proven to us that this director does have talent. There was a lot of really good things in this, and we want to see more going forward.
Yeah. All right. As for myself, as has been mentioned, next week I have 2 reviews next week. One of them will be War of the Worlds, starring Ice Cube, looking at a computer screen.
Praying for their souls.
Try not to be offended by your bad Latin. The day after that, it's okay. I appreciate the joke.
Sorry, I haven't been to a church in ages. And for the record, I'm Episcopalian, not Catholic.
I would have guessed Unitarian, but fair enough. The day after that, we'll be back here, and the 3 of us will reconvene to review Weapons, which looks actually okay. Helps that they got Josh Brolin, who tends to make everything better that he's in. I'm busier this week still because on Thursday, Mark and I will have a long road to ruin for the 28 Days, Weeks, and Years Later movies.
Just a tiny bit delayed on that one. Sorry. Call it.
No,
I know the schedule got full. I know this was the first time you guys could mix it.
But we also hadn't done a review of the discussion of the other 2 movies in that franchise before, so
which threw me for a loop.
Well, they came out before we'd ever done Damn You Hollywood, so. And then when there's only 2 of them, it just never kind of got around. By the time we would have gotten to the point where Mark and I would have discussed, like, hey, do you want to talk about these? They'd said, yeah, 28 Years Later is going to be a thing. So we just waited.
I guess I always figured there was an on-trial law somewhere where you guys looked at those 2.
Nope. Okay. Nope. So The Long Road to Ruin, Mark and I will tackle that. I'm always nervous talking about movies I actually enjoy, so we're going to see how that goes. And yeah, yesterday, Mark and I, along with Zachary Strobel, reviewed The Naked Gun. A good time was had. Laughs were had. Comedy is not dead, it turns out. Ironic considering that I said after 2024, I no longer believe in comedy as a concept, given some of the movies that came out last year.
Who would have thought it would have been executive producer Seth MacFarlane that would jolt that back into you?
I would not have bet money on that personally.
None of us would have.
So you can listen to our review of that. And yeah, I've also got coverage this weekend per usual. WWE SmackDown on Friday over at 411mania.com. UFC on ESPN 72 will be Saturday. It's not a very good card, but if you want a full preview, I host the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast, so give that a listen if you're so inclined. If you want my take on the wide, wacky, wonderful world of mixed martial arts and combat sports at large. So thank you all to everyone who tunes in there. Thank you very much, listener, viewer, for tuning in at this point. Anything you can do to interact with this stuff is always appreciated, especially YouTube, who at the moment is experimenting with views don't count unless it's an engaged view. And that is a deeply inelegant solution to their problem of too many bots are watching movies, and we don't need advertisers to get wind of bot movies being played to bot viewers, because then that kills our ad revenue.
Pretty much.
But that is the apocalypse that advertising on the internet is going towards, because it's not just a YouTube problem. Spotify has now AI listeners listening to AI bands to the tune of millions of listens. So that's our current nightmare. Enjoy. So anything you can do on that front, again, always appreciated. If not, just listening is really the most important thing as far as I'm concerned. So thank you all, and we will see you next time. Until then, Alexis has the button, so I should let her do the sign out.
All right. Thanks everyone for listening. Hope you have a wonderful night. Be well, behave, and be careful where you go.
Stay away from random pond water.
I'll say, be careful where you get your drinking water from.